That was Pinky Cole, the CEO and founder of Slutty Vegan ATL. She's addressing why she chose not to raise her prices during the alarming food shortage currently sweeping the nation. Welcome back. As we head into the holidays, food inflation is spiking up prices at restaurants and grocery stores, impacting affordability at supermarkets and restaurants as well, affecting if some families can make ends meet. Nicholas Bertram, the president of the supermarket The Giant Company, says food prices are at its highest level in a decade. And just 2 weeks ago, leaders of Walmart, Kroger, CVS, and other major retailers met with President Joe Biden to address the price surge. On Revolt Black News Weekly, we want to know how this specifically impacts the Black communities and how the changing landscape of food deserts has already been impacting access to healthy food options and affordability. Joining us is the spokesperson of the Republican National Committee and Director of Black Media Affairs, Paris Dennard, dietitian Jessica Handy, and Professor of Entomology and African American Studies at the University of Illinois, Esther Goombi. Paris, let's start with you. When it comes to this meeting that retailers had with President Joe Biden, specifically, did it provide a pathway for more food in densely populated Black communities?
Well, I don't think so. I think that when you look at the fact that food inflation has been a specific issue for the Black community for several months now, and now the administration is changing its tune, saying that inflation is not transitory or temporary, that it's something that is going to go well into the new year. I think a lot of Black families are very concerned, single mothers especially are very concerned at the price that they're paying for everyday grocery items, because everything is so much more expensive. So I don't think this meeting did anything to change the fact that food inflation, amongst all other types of inflation, is here for the foreseeable future.
Professor Goombi, I want to bring you into this conversation. Why is access to healthy food options hard? And why has it been hard for a long time? Because this seems to be a conversation we've been having for decades.
First and foremost, I think there's been a long history of marginalization, first in the policies, and all of this has continued to exacerbate or widen this existing food desert issues. And then now with the pandemic, this has only further magnified and amplified these challenges that we already knew, and mostly because of policies, discriminatory policies that have continued to be passed, and as a result, really pushing communities of color into poverty and again, lacking access to fresh food, grocery stores, and all of that.
Jessica, let me bring you in on this conversation. You're a dietitian. Let's really explore food deserts, right? It's defined as an area where low-income communities that have little to no access to supermarkets or large grocery stores. According to the USDA study in 2019, 96% of food deserts were in urban areas. So let's connect the data that we're talking about right now to specific geographic locations. Why are food deserts prominent in majority Black communities?
I mean, we really have to look at, ask the question, is it by design? These are communities that are, predominantly Black and Brown communities. Is it that way by design? Is it a way in which there's a reason where they're trying to keep our communities down to increase the food disparities, the health disparities that exist?
Can I ask a quick follow-up question to that? When you say, is it by design, who's the villain? Who's causing this problem?
It's our bigger systems. It's, I would say, big corporations. I just think we have to look at the different sources that are not requiring all communities to have access to healthy food. We all deserve access to healthy food. And why do we have vacant lots? Why do we have in more of our Black and Brown communities more liquor stores? We should have policy in place in order to make sure that all of our communities have access to the best quality food. And we certainly can make a difference by policy change and making these, basically mandating it.
Professor Goombi, how can we really humanize this so we can go beyond the lens of talking about prices and really focus on people?
First of all, if you have a voice, speak about the issues. When we humanize these stories, we bring them to the front line, and then I think people have, access to food is right. So we need to demand that from our elected politicians. We also need to demand that from our administration, and so there are many levels with which we have to speak up and to ensure that these inequalities and that people have food. It's Christmas time, it's holiday time, it's family time. People don't need to be worrying about food, but we need to ensure that they have. And then, of course, the food pantries, especially the ones that are in communities that already don't have access to food, need to be restocked. Food banks and should, especially in the communities of color, need to carry all types of food, and more importantly, healthy food.
Jessica, my last question on this panel is, as we head into the holidays, and with your expertise of really, examining healthy food options as a dietitian, is there something our viewers can walk away with as we're reporting on this to really rethink what access and resources looks like in communities in need? Something more focused on a solution-based level for all of us.
I love this question because I think it is about the solution. We can look at the reality of where we are currently, but the facts, but how do we still make sure that people get access to healthy food during these holiday seasons? And I think, certainly it's a long-term, we need long-term solution. Immediate solution would be, looking, definitely there are regions in the country that, have, drastic winters where they're not growing food, but try to connect with your local food growers as much as possible. Eat seasonal. If you can find foods that are at a lower price point for whatever reason, because maybe there was a surplus, it's okay, freeze those foods. I think that we've got to get creative short term, but long term, we need to localize our food system. We need to turn those vacant lots into food gardens, promote more backyard gardeners so that we can localize our foods. I'm a registered dietitian, but I'm also an urban gardener and an aspiring farmer, because we need more Black and brown farmers in our communities, so that we don't have issues. We're not relying solely on our grocery stores in order to have access to healthy foods. And what we put in our body makes a huge difference. And so I'm really grateful for this conversation.
And I'm grateful for it as well. Jessica Paris and Professor Gumbi, we appreciate your time and giving us the time of your day to really dig through this story that's impacting so many communities on a national level.